Welcome back to a special edition of Iron Rage. I'm Dave Palumbo, and I'm here with Lee Priest, all the way from Australia, and John Romano. God knows where he is, but he is here with us today. Guys, a very sad week in the bodybuilding world, as you know. The death of Dallas McCarver just kind of caught us all by surprise earlier in the week, and then the announcement that Rich Piana had indeed passed this morning. Two major figures in our sport, maybe two of the biggest guys that we've seen in quite a while in the sport as well from a mass perspective, both dying in the same week. The official cause of death of Dallas McCarver is still not known. I've heard all kinds of crazy speculation. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And Rich Piana, from what I'm hearing, it was a heart attack a few weeks ago that caused him to fall down, hit his head, causing a concussion. As we know, he was brought to the hospital. Obviously, there was some oxygen deprivation to his brain, on life support for 2 weeks. I think they pulled it to this morning, and he passed. So the question is, the topic is, what does the death of Dallas McCarver and Rich Piana mean to the bodybuilding world? John, you've written some pretty aggressive things on your wall about how you're kind of sick of the way the bodybuilding world is treating this. Talk to us a little bit about what you feel.
Well, these two deaths are, exactly the fodder that the opponents of bodybuilding need now to start spouting off and talking and lending credence to their rants about how bodybuilding has gone downhill and it's the aesthetics are gone and everybody's too big and the guts are sticking out and the old days were great and blah blah blah. So yeah, now they got the fuel for their fire, but you got to put it in a perspective. Out of 10 or 15 million people in the country who use steroids, how many sudden deaths are we discussing these days? So we're talking about a minute percentage of the participants here. And, it's not like this happens every day. This is the reason this is shaken the industry the way it is because it doesn't happen every day. And it's a shock. And, we've lost people close to us. And, I think at some point there is a divergence in the path of what this means to the sport. Because in Rich Piana's case, I think it's a little more far-reaching and a little more widespread than would be Dallas McCarver's. Dallas McCarver's is just unfortunate. He was a great guy, by all accounts. One of the most best-natured, best guys in the industry. No one says a bad word about him. He was an up-and-comer. He was one of my favorite picks for you guys know this. I've been pro Dallas McCarver ever since he turned pro. I thought he was a great, addition to the Olympic lineup. I think this guy was going to be amazing. It's sad and unfortunate that this happened, and did it happen because of his lifestyle? Probably, possibly, maybe. We don't know yet. But, chances are it had something to do with it. He was 340 pounds. So, that's going to be what it is. However, Piana's case is a lot different because Piana made a name for himself by being extreme, the most extreme you could possibly be. And in any pursuit that you take to the extreme, it doesn't matter what it is, auto racing, drag racing, downhill skiing, mountain climbing, anything that you take to the extreme, you exponentially increase the risk of something going wrong. In Rich's case, he had 1 million followers who thought everything he was doing was so cool. So now it's dead. Okay, so and that's going to give you two things. That's going to give, the Black Lives Matters, progressive lefts, indignant calls for him to, die motherfucker and bust a move on grave because he desecrated, blacks with the N-word. And there's hate in his heart, so they're happy now, and they're going to make that known on social media. And then you've got the example that he has set for a ton of people. And there's his whole 5%ers, and everybody thinks it's so cool to be like Rich and jack yourself up and party and do this and do that and whatever. Well, you know what? If you follow that lifestyle for any length of time, guess what happens to you? So this is like writing on the wall. And then there's several people in our industry who you could look at their lifestyle and say it, and see it, and say the exact same thing. That, they're not going to be long for this world. When you burn a candle at both ends, it burns faster. So you die like you live. And in this case, that's what happened. What I'm hoping is that his death, whether it's 100% due to the bodybuilding lifestyle or not, it's almost no percent due to steroids on their own. So the idea that this is the perfect, soapbox upon which the radicals can vilify steroids more, they're just going to be blowing more hot air because the science just doesn't support it. The lifestyle, however, that bodybuilders lead, particularly the lifestyle that Piana led, was obviously this is the payout. So if his life is going to mean anything in his death, then I hope it means to his 1 million+ followers that have glorified his lifestyle and him and are striving to be just like him, that you want to be just like him? You sure about that? Watch the news. So, that's the ultimate goal of a Rich Piana follower now, is where you're headed. So if his death means anything to the bodybuilding industry, I think it means as a wake-up call for the 1 million people who are following him around thinking he's all that. So, I feel bad as hell for Rich's family. It's a terrible thing to have lost him. He was a friend of ours. But, these things happen, man. People die. And if you live, the closer you live to the edge, the better your odds. So that's what it is. That's what it takes. That's what you get. And we're all sickened by it because it's a senseless loss. We don't have them around anymore. But it is what it is. That's what you get for that lifestyle. And there's more. Are there more coming? Who knows? It's a possibility. But you still have to put this into perspective. As radical as his lifestyle was, it's his death, Dallas McCarver's death, Sean Harris's death, and everybody else's that we can piece together in the last year are a minute fraction of the participants of bodybuilding and bodybuilders and people who use steroids. So odds are minuscule that this should be used as a soapbox item for the naysayers is ridiculous. Yeah, living a radical lifestyle to the nth degree like these guys did could potentially be deleterious to your health, but it's not the norm, and most people don't do that. So, to get up and now use this thing is going to accomplish one thing: desecrate the death of a fellow human being. And like it or not, there's people who are going to want to do that. They're going to do it anyway, and that's what they're about, and that's what they're going to do. So, there's no stopping that. But definitely a sick day in our sport.
Yeah, let me cut to Lee Priest a little bit, because Lee, you were a very young, successful bodybuilder out there. When you were in your teens, you were a superstar already. So, maybe you can relate to what Dallas was going through. He was a young guy. He had a lot of success. I think he felt a lot of pressure at some point to prove that he was as good as they say he was when he turned pro at 21. What do you think was going through Dallas's head, over these last couple of years? Especially, we know he had some problems in Australia at the Australian Pro there, the New Zealand. He wasn't feeling well. He passed out on stage. Do you think that was that any foreshadowing of what was to come, or was that just an unfortunate incident?
It's hard to say. Let me first start by saying, condolences to Rich and Dallas's family and friends, but it's hard to say what was going on then, because we can all speculate. I know when I started bodybuilding at a young age and I got into it, my mum was always worried about the steroid use and stuff, but, as I turned professional, I got to that level of having to use steroids. I always did it safely. Yeah, I was one of those guys in the off-season. I got to 285, and I remember they used to have the Deadpool list out. I don't know how many times I got on the Deadpool list of going to die from the drugs I used and that. But, when I used drugs, I always used them. I never abused them, and people still to this day don't believe the small amounts I use. But like I always said, I wanted to get into this sport for longevity, to be healthy, and try and be as healthy as you can. And, you push your body to the extreme, sure, and you get ready for contests. But off-season, I was always more relaxed. I didn't touch the gear. I just ate a lot of food, and that's how I put all the weight on. And even then, I remember once, they bring up this thing, choking with Dallas. I remember once when I was 285, I used to eat so much food I'd go to bed. And actually one night I almost choked. I remember laying in bed having a dream I was choking, and I actually woke up choking with all the food up in my throat like gastric reflux. So luckily my body woke up and woke me up. Otherwise, we've heard it before. Stars have died, out partying, taking drugs, drinking too much, go to bed. They vomit and end up choking in their sleep because they don't wake up from all the medications they're on. So sadly, things happen. And like John says, in this bodybuilding world, I think it is such a shock because it's happened to two people in such a short amount of time. But I was watching a documentary the other day on mountain climbers that climb Everest, and it is an extreme sport. And I was surprised at the amount of mountain climbers that die on that mountain every year, but you never really hear about it anymore because it's like a common occurrence. There's 10, 20, 30 people, mountaineers die. They just leave the bodies on the thing, because I was watching this documentary and it showed these bodies they actually leave there in the snow along the way as a memorial to the other climbers. But yeah, so in bodybuilding, I said when something does happen, it's such a shock, and then everyone's going to blame the steroids and everyone's going to blame this and speculate. But, until they've done an autopsy, we're never going to know. It's like John said, to actually say steroids are a cause for something, there's never been a proven case where steroids are the actual cause. Like I said, you can go to a hospital any weekend and go to the emergency room and you'll find God knows how many people in there from alcohol abuse, from cigarette smoking, but ask the doctor to point you to the people in there from steroid abuse. You just won't find them. So as sad as it is, we can all speculate, but we're never going to know. And as far as that thing with Dallas in Australia, whether that was just the contest, having a flu, stomach bug, whether it could have been some type of... I remember I was getting ready for a show once. I had a flu really bad, and I ended up getting cardiomyopathy because the virus went to my left ventricle. It was only contracting 17%. I remember going to the hospital, getting all the cardio work done, and the nurse was in the hospital, had come up and said to Kathy at the time, "Oh, he's going to die." I'm like, well, shit. She was pretty straightforward, and I'd been dieting for the Ironman. I had to do more heart tests, and she brought in this food and goes, "Okay, well, you can eat before this test, but just eat the food and just eat the chicken and the vegetables. Don't eat the chocolate cake." So she went out the room. She come back in 10 minutes later. I'm eating the chocolate cake, and she hit the roof. She's going off. "I told you that chocolate cake is going to mess up the test." I said, "Well, you also said I'm going to fucking die, so I'm going to fucking die. I'm going to eat the chocolate cake." It's like, I said, "I'm not going out just eating fucking chicken breasts. I'm going to eat the cake, so fuck it." And I remember then, because I was at the, I think it was the Santa Monica, I can't remember what hospital was in Santa Monica, but Sandy Rinaldi was one of the head nurses there. So
oh, really?
Sandy knew, she knew I was in the hospital for that. And like ever since then, every 6 months, every 12 months, I go get all my cardio work done still now. And thankfully, touch wood, the heart's been good, all the ventricles are working well. But, it's one of those things you don't even think about. Sometimes you can have your blood work done, you can have everything else done, and everything can come back fine. But things like arteries or your heart, you don't really think about it. I think, if you're in this sport, pushing it to the extreme, maybe every year or 2 years, a lot of bodybuilders should go get like a full workup, get scans done, get the heart checked out. Because like I said, there's a lot of silent killers out there where I've seen guys, I remember seeing this police officer who used to come to Gold's Gym in Austin, Texas, overweight guy, dieted down, did one of those challenge things. Healthiest guy now, is feeling good, is talking to me about how great he was feeling now and so much easier to go to work. Had his workout at the Gold's Gym, Austin, Texas, walked out, had a shower, walked out to his patrol car, dropped dead right beside it from a heart attack. So it's one of those silent killers you just don't know. So I'd recommend that anyone in this sport, if you're taking it to the extreme, just go get checked out. Don't be scared to go to the doctor and find someone you can be confident in and just say, "Listen, this is what I'm doing. This is how I push my body. I want to get all this checked out." Sometimes doctors might say, "Oh, don't worry about it. You're too young. You don't need that checked out yet till you get in your 40s. Push the doctor. Say you want it checked. So it's always to be safe, caution on the side of safety. Then, like I said, if something does happen, it's too late, So just like I said, just be safe. If you're going to do this sport, like I said, it's about longevity. You want to be healthy. Sure, we all want to be big and freaky and that, but, people used to tell me, "Lee, if you did this and did that, you could be freaky. Imagine how big you could get." But I was happy with how I was. I, marched to the beat of my own drum. Just because somebody else was doing these large amounts, I never thought, "Hey, I'm going to go do this and go do that." So it's like I said, you just got to be sensible if you're going to do it, and hopefully do it as safe as you can. But like now, with these two deaths, we're seeing all the internet experts come out. So sadly, that's going to go on forever, those type of people.
Now, John, I want to go back to you. TMZ obviously picked up the stories both of Rich Piana and Dallas McCarver, which I guess, I don't know if that validates bodybuilding is actually an entertainment sport now, because it seems like they're picking up our superstars on their app and their website. The question I have is, they had Ronnie Coleman on, 8-time Mr. Olympia. I know a lot of people out there probably saw it. Some people didn't. They asked Ronnie if he thought that the steroids were a problem in the sport, And Ronnie kind of said that he thought they were, and that, you know, he kind of compared himself to Dallas. When Dallas was 26, he said when he was 26, he didn't even know what a steroid was, you know. He felt that Dallas might have been too young, and he also thought that, you know, he felt that when Dallas passed out on the stage in Australia, he said that that's when something should have been done. Do you agree with that statement, or do you think that Ronnie might have just got caught off guard with these guys asking him these questions? Because I know when I went on TV shows, the first thing Rick Collins told me was, they're going to ask you about steroids. You know, that's why you're going on. You know, was Ronnie caught off guard? Oh, Johnny's going to play the clip. Let's play this clip first, and then you can respond to that.
Thanks, guys. Good to be on the show again.
So, first of all, your reaction to Dallas?
I'm in shock, but not a real big shock because, like you said, there was a warning sign back in, I think it was March when he collapsed on stage. There was something to let you know that something you're doing right here is not right. You need to back off from something that you're doing. You need to change some things in your lifestyle, but
Ronnie, I just want.
That was Ronnie basically saying that, you know, he felt that maybe the steroids were a problem. John, how do you respond to that?
You know, it's like it should have been stopped right there. Like, what? Take his food away from him? I mean, what did you want to stop?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to stop him from growing, like right there on the spot? Stop growing. Dallas, that's enough. But, you know, it's look, a statement from a great man who's, you know, trying to you know, not look vilified with the whole thing because he was bigger than anybody else in the entire world for 8 years. So I don't think Dallas did anything that Ronnie didn't do, regardless of how soon or how long it was in his career that he did it. The point is, he, along with everyone else, did it, and he admits it. So I don't think, you know, to make a statement like that is very, you know, you're not being a statesman for your sport by talking like that.
Yeah, he should have defended, I would have thought, and said, look, that's not what it's, you know, that's not the problem, you know.
Exactly. I mean, clearly, a guy who's meant to be 160 pounds is, you know, 360 pounds. With tissue that has to be serviced by the heart, obviously is going to give himself a situation where he's going to be cardiomyopia, and you know, have other cardiac issues associated with that because you're making so much more work for the heart, for the muscle. So you know, for Ronnie to say that's the steroids. It's ridiculous. It's the extreme to which these guys are going, using steroids and food and supplements and workouts and, you know, growth hormone and peptides and insulin and other ancillary drugs. There's a whole shitload of stuff everybody's using. To just say it's steroids is ridiculous. It's just wrong on every level that you can possibly slice it. The extreme to which this sport can be taken can be dangerous. Yeah. We're obviously proving that. Yeah. But even out of the ones who've taken it to the extreme, this is still a rare occurrence. Yeah. So
I think
that disingenuous at best.
I think you made a good point. I think Lee made a good point before, and I want to just use myself as an example. I decided to take up cycling like 2 years ago. And of course, I became completely consumed and obsessed with it. And I was noticing that when I wore my heart rate monitor on when I was cycling, I was noticing that every once in a while I'd get these crazy spiking heart rates. I'd go from 150 beats a minute to 250. And I knew that wasn't good. So I went in and I saw my cardiologist. I told him. He's like, oh, I don't know. And they ran some rhythm tests and they couldn't duplicate it. They put a little heart monitor on me. And I went out and I continued for the next week my regular life and did my cycling and everything. And I got a phone call from them, you know, the monitoring system, and they said, get your ass in here. And they said I was right. I was throwing 250 plus heart rates every once in a while. And it turns out after all was said and done, all the testing I got done, I have a heart arrhythmia. And I probably was born with it. I might have inherited, I blame my dad. I said, Dad, it's probably your fault because it's genetic, you know. And imagine, I was 320 pounds at 5'10", you know, for probably a good 5 years. And luckily I wasn't doing anything really highly anaerobic. Aerobic. If I had, maybe I would have had a heart attack too. So the point I'm making is Dallas might have had something genetically wrong with him that we didn't even know. And now you put 340 pounds on the guy, and now we have a problem. So I think you're right, John. I don't think you can make a generalized statement that steroids and being 300 pounds necessarily causes you to have heart attacks and die. But if there's an underlying predisposition, a genetic propensity for something that you don't even know about because it's impossible to know it, okay, things go wrong. Now, I don't think that was the case with Rich Piana. I think there was some other stuff involved. But certainly, adding all that body weight and stress to a physique that might have something genetically not perfect with it is not going to make it, work well. Lee, you said it earlier. You had a cardiomyopathy at some point, and we don't really know what it was caused by. Luckily, yours was only viral and you got over it. But it could have been genetic, and you could have had a heart attack and died right there, suddenly.
Exactly, that's what I said. You don't really know about these things. I only felt like, I was laying in bed at night and I just felt something wasn't right. My chest didn't have really pain, but it just felt like I had this pressure on my chest, like something was sitting on me. Just like, just breathing was sort of harder to breathe. So I figured, what, I'm going to get it checked out. And luckily I did get it checked out and they called it in time. And now, like I said, every 12 months I still go get it done. I get stress tests done every year now where I can't really do the treadmill stress test because my shins hurt if I start running. So they actually lay me on the table now. They put this stuff into my system where you'll be laying there talking to them, and when they start injecting you, your heart just starts going crazy. So you'll be talking to them, and you're like, it's like you can't get your breath, and then they bring you back to normal. Then they inject you some more, and your heart rate starts going crazy again. So, like I said, it's best to be safe than sorry if you're going to be in this sport. Like I said, so many guys walk around, I don't need to see a doctor, I'm fine, I feel good. But it's like I said, I've known so many people that have felt good. There was a guy on a TV program down here called Go Health, and all he ever did was talk about health, dieting, ate the healthiest food, went out jogging, couldn't do the TV show because he's feeling sick, dropped dead of a heart attack. So, like I said, it's one of those silent killers where you just don't know. So that's what I've always said to even young guys, get your blood work done, get this done. Don't be scared to go to the doctor and, tell them you want this test, because I know a lot of guys do go to doctors and some doctors will be like, nah, you're right, you're only 30, you're 28, you're too young to worry about heart yet. But yet, in this sort of sport, doing what we do, we can put more pressure on our organs and hearts like that. So it is good to get it checked out. So, like I said, don't be scared to go to a doctor and tell them you want it done. Demand that you get it done. So, like I said, in our age group, sometimes doctors will just blow it off like, nah, you'll be fine. You don't need it. You're still too young. But, if you don't feel good, get it checked out.
This question to both of you. First, John, should there be a health clearance yearly physical that all pro bodybuilders necessarily might need to do? Might that be something that could catch a problem like this, an arrhythmia or some kind of a weird thing? Obviously, a Rich Piana who doesn't compete wouldn't have helped him. But how about for these young guys? Should there be a health clearance physical that all people should have? I mean, Lee, you were a pro bodybuilder. Would that have been something that you would have been okay with?
I'd be fine with it, yeah. But I said, even if, like I said, if you're going to make it, I don't know if you can make it mandatory, but I can't see why the guys themselves wouldn't want to know, because I always knew, like every year when I get my blood work done, I'd want to know what my cholesterol was, my liver function, kidney functions, just from like being off season, from eating food, getting ready for a contest. When I'm on the gear, I'd go get it done then, just to see the difference in my blood readings each time. So just me knowing personally, so I'd be like, okay, I'm fine, everything's good. Just knowing that mentally, I felt better inside, rather than thinking, if I take this, if I take that, if I push my body any harder, if something's going to happen. Not knowing was more scary to me, because then if I had a pain, I'd go on fucking Dr. Google, and by the end of my reading, I had bowel cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Dr. Google gives me all these bloody things that I had, so I'd rather go to a proper doctor, get checked out and get the okay, and then go ahead and do what I was doing. So I think everyone should just, the IPB, I think, can make it mandatory, but I think just people being sensible should want to know themselves and get the clearance for themselves, have peace of mind knowing that, okay, you look good on the outside, but you also want to know deep down in your heart that you're good on the inside as well.
Lee, people walk around, I know pro bodybuilders don't even have health insurance. So, I mean, a lot of guys want to put their head in the sand and they don't want to know. John, what do you think about a health clearance physical once a year?
Well, I'm going to take it a step further, and I'm going to give you the unpopular answer.
Okay.
I think that at this point in the progression, if you want to call it that, of our sport, and the number of people it encompasses and all the different divisions and the amount of people that are being attracted to this sport now, it is a foregone conclusion in our sport that at the elite level, you are going to use drugs. Possibly many different kinds, and possibly lots of them. Okay, and that's a fact. On the pro level, it's a given. We all know this. We all accept it. We all talk about it. It's like working out. We don't put it in any nefarious category or talk about it in any different light than we talk about weight training equipment, chicken breasts, and rubber bands. So the acknowledgement by the industry, which includes the federations and its constituents, has to come to the surface now. And we got to start paying attention to the health of the people involved in the sport that taxes your health. So it's always been said, bodybuilding is one of the unhealthiest sports there is. It's been said for decades. I remember it in the 80s that, people said, oh, you're getting into bodybuilding for your health. It's like the most unhealthy sport there is. So that's nothing new. It's that topic, that mantra has fomented for 35 years. So we already know it's dangerous. We already know you're going to break the law. We already know that you're going to take drugs that under, powerful drugs, not under the supervision of a doctor, but rather a guru. So we ought to take steps to ensure that the health of these people who are putting their health on the line for our viewing pleasure to enact some kind of both a screening process by which you would have to submit every year to get a clean bill of health to start the competitive season, which would include EKG, liver and kidney function, blood work, the whole 9 yards. And there should be some group form of health coverage that you could subscribe to when you get an MPC or an IFBB card that allows you some basic coverage for not only medical screenings like, PSA, prostate, a heart, kidney, liver, all these things that you're going to get preventative care for, but also for catastrophic events in the event of a heart attack or anything else that is statistically showing to be potentially, an issue for some of these people that are taking things to the extreme. So I think it's incumbent upon the sport at this point now, in not only in history, but in light of the last, couple of developments, start taking a closer look at the health of its constituents and offer some in that regard.
I think that's a very wise idea. Look, you have to get cleared before you can go into surgery. So if in the NFL, you have to pass a physical too, every year. So why not, have some kind of a mandatory form, they send to you give to your doctor, hey, I need this clearance to compete in the IFBB Professional Bodybuilding League, and you can bring it to your own physician. They can do an EKG, they can do an echocardiogram on you, they can run the blood work, and when you come back clean, you submit that once a year to the IFBB, and then they clear you to compete. I don't think this. I agree with you. And you know what, John? It's not just the men; it's the women too. Everyone should have to submit that.
Everyone.
And it's just a safety net. I think it's wise. I think it's a good decision. Lee, do you think something like that could ever be instituted? I think you think that they could actually. I mean, obviously they'd have to have like a whole department at the IFBB who would be like a physician who would review these clearances.
I think they could, because we see like on the boards there are some doctors out there, sports medicine doctors, that chime in on forums and that. So just get a hold of one of these top sports doctors that follows the bodybuilding and understands what we do and what we put into our bodies. So get somebody on that. I don't think it'd be hard to implement. It's easy to make up new rules and say this is the way it's going to be done. Just looking to do it properly, because all sports out there. I remember when I was doing car racing and that. If tragically there's a death in car racing, they'd go back and look at the cars and make the cars safer. Say, look, this is how the accident happened. We need to toughen up the roll bar here. We need to make this part of the car stronger. We need to do this. So, sadly, sometimes it does take deaths for, sports to change. And hopefully now with these two passings of Dallas and Rich, that people can be like, okay, we need to take a step back and look at this and how can we make it safer? Because basically people are going to keep doing what they're doing. You can tell them, don't take this many drugs, don't do this. This is going to do that, but yet people still want to be the biggest, still want to be the best, so they've got to push their bodies. But at least if they put something in like this health side where you can get checked out beforehand, at least that's moving in the right direction to go, okay, if you're going to do it, you've got the clearance to go do it, but just, still don't be crazy with it. It's like I said, bodybuilding can be bad if you go to the extreme in anything, and also it can be healthy if you do it properly to training, to eating clean food, the cardio. So it's like a double-edged sword there. So, but, you know, it's got to come down to the person's preference, and we all know what's right from wrong. We know what extreme is. We know what abuse is. And then I got a lot of friends here too on top of the extreme. They get ready for a contest, but then they think, you know, they're pushing their body to the extreme competing, but then on top of that, they think on weekends they can go out and party and do recreational drugs and all this sort of stuff. So, you know, when you do that sort of thing, you're like a time bomb sometimes. You don't know when it's going to go off. So, you know, as I said, it's just got to be smart. And I think the majority of us are out there are smart, and we want to live a long life. And, you know, I've had those dumb friends who'll be like, I tell them, look, you're going to die the way you go. And then you get that comment, well, at least I'll die big. It's like, well, you know, that's just the dumbest comment out there. Who wants to die? And, you know, these ones where they say, well, you die doing what you love. Well, I don't care. I love car racing, but I don't want to die in a car wreck. I don't want to die in the gym. I'd rather, you know, die in my sleep, you know. So, you know, I don't think I want to go, you know.
Or rooting a Sheila.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like I said, I don't want to die, you know, I want to go like my grandfather, you know, die in my sleep, not like the other three people screaming in the car.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I saw another theory out there that Dallas died of a tren cough. He had tren cough, and it made him choke. And I mean, there's a million people with a million theories. Until we get the autopsy report, we really won't know how anyone died. I did hear Rich Piana died of a heart attack, but once again, I'd like to see the official, you know, autopsy. Until you actually get that report, it's impossible to really know for sure. And once again, these are people that were well liked. We like these people. We're not putting them down. And the truth of the matter is, and I think this is the drive home point here today, this could have happened to any of us out there at any time. And that's what makes it scary, because it's not specific to Rich or Dallas. Any one of us that are, you know, extreme bodybuilders could have had this happen to us, this unfortunate, early, untimely death. And once again, I send my prayers, condolences, all the love in my heart out to all these families that have to endure this terrible, terrible week of their life. You know, when Sean Harris died a couple weeks ago, you know, I couldn't even imagine what his family was thinking. But that was an accident. That was a car accident. This is, I don't know. This is, you know, 26-year-old, you know, young man who had his whole life ahead of him. It's very sad. And once again, we send all our prayers out from the whole RxMuscle family here. Lee, you want to put any final words in?
Yeah, like I said, just to their friends and family, just condolences to them too. And also, you know, I also feel, I think you mentioned before too, my, you know, thoughts go out to Big Josh too, who found Dallas, you know, and I think you said it the best too when you said about, you know, someone like Josh finding him there, trying to help Dallas. When you're in the sport and you know what they're doing and you're doing the same thing, it does make you question, hey, what I'm doing. You know, I remember being on stage at the Arnold when Paul Dillett cramped up that time, and I felt like walking off stage, just seeing him cramp up backstage like an ironing board, knowing what he was going through. It just made me feel sick standing on stage. So when things do happen to people that you're close to in the sport and you know, hey, I'm doing the same thing as them, it does make you question what you're doing. But, you know, so hopefully Josh is, you know, all right mentally and he's getting into his training. And, you know, I heard he's going to compete for Josh and for Dallas's memory and stuff like that. So it's a good thing. But like I said, it does make you question what you do and, you know, take a step back and think, hey, what I'm doing, is it worth it? You know, because like I said, we all want to live a full life with our friends and families and go on as long as we can. So, you know, but as I said, it's just a sad week for the sport of bodybuilding. But, you know, there's people that speculate online. I just wish people could get online and just, you know, share good memories, share photos, you know, stories of when they met them. Forget all this negativity about the drug side and speculating. And like I said, until the actual reports come out, you know, just share good memories of them.
Lee, you know, you make a good point. Josh Lenardowitz, you know, goes home. You know, he's staying at Dallas McCarver's apartment. He comes home from the gym from doing cardio. He walks in and he finds Dallas laying on the floor. He's less than 3 weeks out from the Olympia. I mean, that's got to be tremendously traumatizing. It would be to anyone to find that. I mean, it's got to haunt him. It's got to be in his dreams. It's his. How do you focus on the Olympia after something like that? I mean, you were an Olympia competitor. Can you block that out? Do you use it as motivation? What do you do? How do you get past something like that?
Well, like I said, the first couple of days, like I said, I'd be being myself. Like I said, when I saw Paul cramp up that time, I was ready to pull the pin on the contest, just knowing what he was going through. So finding someone passed out like that, passed away, you're going to be, you know, is what I'm doing worth it? You know, am I going to keep doing it? I know that when I get ready for the contest, even if I was having a needle or something, I'd be like, oh, okay, is this the one going to be the one to do this and do that? Because I always knew that when I got ready for a show, being on the gear as long as I was for the 16 weeks, I always started to feel sick towards the end of that. Not like sick as in vomiting sick, but, you know, you just sometimes feel, you know, when you feel great, you get up, you're full of energy, you're feeling healthy. Towards the end of that cycle, even though I wasn't using a lot, I started to feel like, I don't like a feeling of toxic in the body. Like I've just had enough of taking pills, taking a shot. I was just sick of it. So I couldn't wait for the contest to come so I could stop everything. So when you do see something like that happen to a fellow competitor and you know you're doing similar things, it would make you question that. But, you know, I'm sure Josh is strong enough in the mind, like I said, to keep pushing it. And I'm sure he's a smart guy. He's not going to try and do any harm to himself. But like I said, in this sport, when there's so many factors that are silent that can kill us without warning, like heart attacks and that, you just don't know. So sometimes you do feel like you're playing Russian roulette. So it's just one of those things you try and do it as safely as you can, as smart as you can. So, and then hopefully in the end, you just hope it all turns out right. But yeah, like I said, Josh, I hope like I said, he's going to compete now for Dallas and do it in his memory, the same as Flex do, because Flex and Dallas were really close. So yeah, as I said, you do make you question things when you do go home and see your family and that sort of thing. But I guess it's like anything. Like I said, as John said before, the extremes in all sports. It'd be like, I guess, for a police officer, you know, you get police officers getting shots. Every time that police officer puts his uniform on and walks out the door, he doesn't know if he's coming home that day or not. So, you know, it's just one of those things, you know, bad things happen in life to good people. So it's just sad that it's happened to these two guys who, like you said, they did have great followings. They did have lots of fans. They were loved by all, whether you loved them or agreed with what they did or not. You know, like Rich Piana, people thought he took things to the extreme and didn't like it, but yet then the other side of the coin, people loved him for what he did. So it's just sad when things happen to good people like that.
John, final words?
That's Sean Ray still out there.
Sean Ray, what do you think about Sean Ray putting up a picture of the Grim Reaper, John?
Sean,
after Dallas died.
I think Bleckman should be, you know, chastised for enabling that douchebag.
Yeah.
But you know, it's unfortunate that, you know, a person of that nature has a voice, and it's kind of really what I want to say to sum this up is that, you know, think what you will about either of these guys, and I know there's probably more ill will towards Rich than Dallas. Just try to remember that they're human beings, you know, and they got families and they have people that cared about them who are hurting now, and people who are feeling a loss tremendously for them, you know, being gone. And just kind of try to be, you know, human when you're on your keyboard in your mother's basement, ready to send out some vile crap about them that's probably not true, just to make you sound better. So, you know, try to act human. And allow these families to, you know, to heal, to get over this, to deal with it, to make their arrangements, and you know, live through this incredibly painful part of their lives without you offering your commentary.
I think those are very wise words, and very wise words to sum up with. You know, remember, Rich and Dallas were bigger than life characters, figures in our industry, but they were also people who have families, and I think that was a very good message that John left us with. Thank you, John Romano. Thank you, Lee Priest. I'm Dave Palumbo with another special edition of Iron Rage.